Before we get into today's game, I want to talk about the sponsors for my channel. Card Conduit is the best way to sell your unused Magic cards. Whether you've got a box of unsorted bulk, or a complete and alphabetized set, there's a great option for everyone. With a payout averaging 19% better than using any one buy list, and that's after fees are applied, you can rest assured you'll get the best bang for your buck. If you're a skeptic like me, their easy customer service and detailed reports make the whole interaction transparent and safe. And if you use the affiliate link in the description below, or the promo code MTGMUDSTA, you'll save 10% off their fees. And 401 Games, Canada's one-stop shop for trading cards, board games, and hobby supplies. Not to mention an easy-to-use and great online buy list. And if you use the promo code MTGMUDSTA, your first purchase of MTG Sealed and Singles will be 5% off. And Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest deck. So be sure to use the code MUDSTA or the affiliate link down below to save 5% on your next order. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's patron shoutout goes to Sparky. Thanks Sparky for supporting me through Patreon. You'll have to bear with me a little bit more today since I'm still getting over this cold, but in today's game, Max, Ian, and Mika are joining me, and I'm playing Patreon Sparky's Kharn deck, keeping 3 Mountains, Pirate's Pillage, Commander Sphere, and Infiltrator Lens. Ian is also in for Mono Red Domination, keeping Fire Diamond, 4 Mountains, Runaway Steamkin, and a Flame Fusillade. Max is playing his Mono Blue Talrand No Counters deck, keeping 2 Islands, Reliquary Tower, Octavia Living Thesis, Crypsis, Thought Vessel, and High Tide. Last but not least, this will be one of the last few games that Mika's playing his 9th Doctor and Adric deck as he's switched to Obeka, and he's keeping As Foretold, Evolving Wilds, Puppeteer, The Moment, 2 Mountains, and Scalding Tarn. I win the die roll and start us off. I draw and play a mountain. Ian plays a mountain for turn and taps it for a red, casting Soul Ring. He then taps the Soul Ring for Fire Diamond and passes. Max draws and just plays an island. Mika's got an Evolving Wilds, cracking it and passing while searching. I play a mountain and pay 2 for an Infiltrator Lens and pass to Ian. Ian plays a mountain for turn, and is able to cast his commander, Solphim, on turn 2. Max draws, playing an island, and then paying 2 for a Thought Vessel. He passes to Mika after that. Mika's turn has him playing a Scalding Tarn, and he sacrifices it, losing 1 to find an island. He then casts the Moment, and passes back to me. I've got a mountain for turn, which is a big surprise in mono red, and I pay 3 for a Commander Sphere and pass to Ian. Ian draws, playing a mountain for turn. He then activates Solphim, discarding 2 cards to put an indestructible counter onto his commander, and he goes to combat. He swings Solphim at Max, dealing 5 commander damage and passing. Max plays an island for turn, and he casts a Strata Scythe, which as it enters, exiles an island from his library, and he then passes after that. Mika puts a counter on the moment during his upkeep, and then draws for turn. He plays a mountain, and then casts the 9th Doctor. He goes to combat, and is able to swing because the Doctor has haste, dealing 2 to me. He passes after that. I've got a Nyxos Shrine to Nyx for turn, and I then pay 4 for Pirate's Pillage. Once it resolves, I pass to Ian. Ian's got a mountain for turn, and he casts something very similar with a Tormenting Voice. And then follows up with an Arcane Signet, and then a Runaway Steamkin. Moving to combat, Solphim goes at Mika for 5, and he passes. Max draws, simply plays a Reliquary Tower, and passes to Mika. Mika untaps the Doctor and gets a 2nd upkeep. He adds 2 counters to the memory, and then draws for turn. He plays a mountain and passes. During his end step, Max casts Meeting of the Minds. I draw and play a mountain, and then crack my treasure to help cast Kharn. I follow it up with Descent into Avernus, and then move the Infiltration Lens onto Kharn and pass. Ian's got a Smoldering Crater for turn, which comes in tapped. He then goes to combat, and swings the Steamkin at me, and I'm forced to block with Kharn. We prevent the damage, and I donate Kharn to Max and draw 2 cards. With nothing else, Ian passes. Max draws and plays a tapped Myriad Landscape, and he then goes to combat. He swings Kharn at Ian, and Ian blocks with his indestructible Solphim. Max and I draw 2 cards each, as Max gets a trigger from Kharn, and I get a trigger from the Infiltrator Lens, and Max then gives Kharn to Mika, passing after that. On his end step though, Mika activates the Moment to put the Doctor under it before taking his turn. Mika's upkeep has him ticking up the Moment, and he draws for turn. He plays an island, and he goes to combat, swinging Kharn at Ian. Ian blocks with Solphim, and Mika gets to draw 2 from Kharn, while I draw 2 from the Infiltrator Lens, and Mika then donates Kharn to Ian. After that, Mika cracks the Moment to wipe the board, and I respond by sacrificing Commander Sphere to draw again. The board is then wiped except for Solphim, and the Doctor comes back. Mika then casts a Springleaf Drum, and uses it to help tap the Doctor to help cast an Izzet Signet. He passes to me after that. I've got a Mountain for turn, and cast an Acquired Mutation on Solphim, and then follow up with a Manifold Key and pass to Ian. Ian draws and plays a Mountain. He goes to combat and swings Solphim at Mika for 7. This has Mika getting 2 rad counters, and he then takes the hit. With nothing else, Ian passes. Max has got an island for turn, and he casts the Gilded Lotus, which he then taps to play a Floodgate and passes to Mika. Mika draws for turn, and then mills for his rad counters, hitting 1 non-land and a land, so he loses 1 and a counter. He then plays an island for turn, and then casts As Foretold, and then Puppeteer, and passes to me. I just draw, play a mountain, and cast Kharn, typical red things, and pass turn. Ian's turn has him casting Mana Barbs in his main phase, and going to combat, he swings Solphim at Max. Max blocks with the Floodgate, and as it dies, it deals 2 damage to everything on the board. I prevent the damage to Kharn, and give it to Max, drawing 2, and with nothing else, Ian passes. Max draws and mills a non-land and a land, losing a rad counter and 1 life. He then goes to combat, swinging Kharn at Ian for 5, who takes the hit. After combat, Max then casts Talrand and takes 2 from the Mana Barbs. He then passes, and during his end step, Mika taps the Doctor with the Springleaf Drum. Mika untaps and gets 2 upkeeps, putting 2 counters on As Foretold, and then draws for turn and mills a land card to his rad counter, not losing it. He then casts Adric, and taps it to the Springleaf Drum to help cast a Quicksilver Dagger, taking 2 from the Mana Barbs. The dagger then enchants the Doctor, and Mika then passes turn. I draw and play a mountain. I cast a Goblin Sharpshooter, and then put Madcap's skills on Kharn and pass. Ian draws and plays a mountain as well. He then swings his commander at Max. Max then negotiates a deal with me to not use the Goblin Sharpshooter on any of his stuff, which I reluctantly agree to. Max casts Wrong Turn to give Solphim to me, and he makes a Drake token. Max draws and mills a land to his rad counter, and then goes to combat. He swings Kharn at Ian, and the Drake at me, and Ian and I take our hits. Max then casts a Mocking Sprite in his post-combat main phase, and then passes turn. During his end step, Mika pings him with the Doctor, which taps him. Mika untaps and puts 2 more counters on As Foretold and draws for turn. He plays an island and then casts Court of Vantress for free thanks to As Foretold. This has Mika becoming the Monarch, and he then casts a Thought Vessel. Mika then plays out a Magmatic Force and passes, drawing at the end of turn from being the Monarch. On my upkeep, Mika targets the Goblin Sharpshooter with his Magmatic Force, and I respond by using it to shoot down his Puppeteer, Adric, and then 1 to his face. and the sharpshooter is then taken out. I then draw for turn, playing a mountain in my main phase. I then cast a Bow of Lightning on Kharn, and follow it up with Thunderous Might on Solphim, and make it unblockable with the Manifold Key. Going to combat, I swing Solphim at Mika, and before damage, Max responds by casting High Tide. He casts an Aether Spouts on me, and Ian decides to put Solphim in the command zone. With my combat step fogged, I then pass turn, with Max cracking the Myriad Landscape during the end step. On Ian's upkeep, Mika gets a Magmatic Force trigger, and he targets Talrand, which gets taken out, and Ian then draws for turn. Ian then plays a mountain for turn, and recasts Solphim, and passes. Max's turn has him casting Crypsis on his upkeep, and targets Kharn. He then draws for turn, and mills 2 non-land cards, taking 2. He then casts a Metamorphic Blast to make Solphim a 0/1. And then casts Transcendent Message, putting 4 into the X. Max then continues his turn by casting Octavia, and he goes to combat. He swings Kharn and 2 Drakes at Mika, and a Drake token goes at Ian. Max then casts a Mystic Reflection just to get the Octavia trigger, and makes his Drake swinging at Ian an 8/8. Ian then takes the 8, and Mika dies from the creatures going at him. This has Max becoming the Monarch, and he passes, drawing during his end step. I draw and play a Mystifying Maze, and then cast Draconic Destiny on Solphim, trying to convince Ian to swing at Max, and I pass turn. Ian draws and plays a mountain. He goes to combat but has a hard decision to make. He can kill Max, or me, but the other player is almost certainly going to take him out. Ian decides that his best option is to take out Max since Max has the next turn, plus he'll get a chance to draw a card by taking the Monarchy. He swings, and Max gets taken out. In his post-combat main phase, Ian casts War Elemental, and then moves to his end step, drawing from being the Monarch. I draw, and make Kharn unblockable with the Manifest Key, and then swing it at Ian for lethal commander damage, winning the game through combat. Game review time. This game was 1 hour and 52 seconds, and you got to see the Patreon Sparky's Kharn deck in action. I've played this a couple times, but this was actually the best showing that I've had with it, and it was pretty sweet. I put Ian in a really uncomfortable position by the late game, and I don't fault him for attacking and taking out Max and hoping to find something that could deal with things. Had he drawn Chaos Warp or any other kind of removal, I would have been in a really bad way. His Solphim deck was putting the hurt on a lot of people, and if he'd had that Mana Barbs and his Commander at the same time, which thankfully Max didn't let happen, we were probably going to die very quickly. Max's Talrand deck is awesome. He doesn't really play any kind of counterspells, as I've said before, but he still has a lot of interaction that works really well to get him Drake tokens. Couple that with a card like Octavia, which allows him to pump up those Drake tokens, and he's got some 8/8 flying beaters that are going to smash face for days. As I said earlier, Mika has since taken apart his 9th Doctor and Adric deck. I say taken apart, but mostly he's just converted it into a Becca. As I filmed it last night with him, it's significantly more powerful than I thought it would be, and the addition to black, although not with too many upkeep triggers, is very, very good. So look forward to seeing that in the future. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.